Aristotle's Poetics, chapter 26. The question may be raised whether the epic or tragic mode of imitation is the higher. If the more refined art is the higher, and the more refined in every case is that which appeals to the better sort of audience, the art which imitates anything and everything is manifestly most unrefined. The audience is supposed to be too dull to comprehend, unless something of their own is thrown in by the performers, who therefore indulge in restless movements. Bad flute players twist and twirl as if they have to represent the quoit throw, or hustle the Corpheus when they perform the Scylla. Tragedy, it is said, has this same defect. We may compare the opinion that the older actors entertained of their successors. Meniscus used to call Callipides ape on the account of the extravagance of his action, and the same view was held of Pindarus. Tragic art, then, as a whole, stands to epic in the same relation as the younger to the elder actors. So we are told that epic poetry is addressed to a cultivated audience who do not need gesture, tragedy to an inferior public. Being then unrefined, it is evidently the lower of the two. Now, in the first place, this censure attaches not to the poetic, but to the histrionic art. For gesticulation may be equally overdone in the epic recitation, and by Sosistratus or lyrical competition, as by Menathesis the Opuntian. Next, all action is not to be condemned any more than all dancing, but only that of bad performers. Such was the fault found in Callipides, as also in others of our own day, who are censured for representing degraded women. Again, tragedy, like epic poetry, produces its effect even without action. It reveals its power by mere reading. If, then, in all other respects it is superior, this fault, we say, is not inherent in it. And superior it is, because it has all the epic elements. It may even use the epic meter, with the music and spectacular effects as important accessories, and these produce the most vivid of pleasures. Further, it has vividness of impression in reading as well as in representation. Moreover, the art attains its end within narrower limits, for the concentrated effect is more pleasurable than one which is spread over a long time and so diluted. What, for example, would be the effect of the Oedipus of Sophocles if it were cast into a form as long as the Iliad? Once more, the epic imitation has less unity, as is shown by this, that any epic poem will furnish subjects for several tragedies. Thus, the story adopted by the poet has a strict unity, it must either be concisely told and appear truncated, or, if it conforms to the epic canon of length, it must seem weak and watery. Such length implies some loss of unity. If I mean the poem is constructed out of several actions, like the Iliad and the Odyssey, which have many such parts, each with a certain magnitude of its own. Yet these poems are as perfect as possible in structure. Each is in the highest degree attainable, an imitation of a single action. If, then, tragedy is superior to epic poetry in all these respects, and moreover fulfills its specific function better as an art for each art ought to produce, not any chance pleasure, but the pleasure proper to it, as already stated, it plainly follows that tragedy is the higher art, as attaining its end more perfectly. Thus much may suffice concerning tragic and epic poetry in general. There are several kinds and parts, with the number of each and their differences, the causes that make a poem good or bad, the objections of the critics, and the answers to these objections.